Today, you will learn the latest on the Mavic Air 2 and why I'm 100% certain about its name. Let's get to it. Hey guys, Felix here with Quadcopter Guide, and on this channel I help you get the most out of your drones and other filmmaking gear. But before we dive into the Mavic Air 2 and some of the new information we found out, I want to give a shout out to all the winners of the first kind of real Quadcopter Guide giveaway. One lucky person named Jeremy, hey man, how's it going, walked away with a brand new DJI Mavic Mini. So if you want to be notified about future opportunities to walk away with free drones perhaps, or cool swag, be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell to get notified. Just recently we received the first leaked images of this supposed DJI drone. Many were suspicious, but back then I claimed that this was in fact a DJI drone. Was I gambling? Not really. It's official. And also, its name is also official, the Mavic Air 2. So in order for a new product to come to market, at least in the US, it has to get approval by the FCC. So that means that DJI in this case has to submit their new products to a lab to get tested to make sure that it meets FCC guidelines. So as part of this application process, we find these test reports. And inside these test reports, we can see a couple interesting things. A, its name. Here you can clearly see DJI Mavic Air 2. Of course, they don't list off every single feature and spec. That would kind of spoil the surprise of a new product. We did learn that in this Mavic Air 2, the battery is a 3-cell lithium polymer battery with a capacity of 3,500 milliamp hours. Now this technology is the same as on the Mavic Pro, the Mavic 2 Pro, except that the Mavic Pro is also a 3-cell and the Mavic 2 Pro is a 4-cell battery. Of course, the Mavic Mini, if you recall, uses a different technology. They use lithium ion in that, but this goes back to kind of the standard battery we expect on DJI drones, lithium polymer batteries. Now don't get too hung up on this being a 3-cell versus a 4-cell on the Mavic 2. If the drone itself is lighter, there's no need to use a 4-cell battery. So the 3-cell is gonna be just fine. In terms of capacity, the original Mavic Pro has a capacity of 3,830 milliamp hours, also being 3-cell. And the Mavic 2 Pro is actually a 4-cell, like I mentioned, and its capacity is 3,850 milliamp hours. So what can we learn from this? Well, it's less milliamp hours than the original Mavic Pro, so it's gonna stay in the air less time, right? Well, not necessarily. The Mavic Pro is now what? Almost 4 years old, 3.5 years old? Since then, technology has evolved quite a bit. The ESCs, or the speed controllers, which drive the motors, have become more efficient. The motors could be more efficient. The drone could weigh less than the original Mavic Pro. All these factors could mean improvements and doesn't necessarily mean that this drone will fly less than the original Mavic Pro, for example. As a matter of fact, I expect the Mavic Air 2 to have an official rating from DJI from around 23 to 28 minutes, anywhere in there. What does that mean for you and me? This translates to roughly a 21 to 24 minute flight time in real world conditions. Of course, if you're flying in sport mode, full throttle forward and back, it's gonna be a little bit less, but with mixed flying, 21 to 24 minutes sounds appropriate. Now in this FCC paperwork, we actually don't get to see the label or the battery compartment, which we've gotten used to seeing in these kinds of applications. They used a clause in the FCC application where if they claim that the item is handheld, which it is, and if they put on the packaging what the FCC ID is on all this stuff, and they clearly mark somewhere how to get to the label, and if you don't need tools to get there, then you don't have to post the label in the application paperwork. I haven't seen DJI use this before, but it makes sense that they would. The less information is out in the public, the less the kind of new release gets spoiled. What I did find interesting is I was looking on Twitter, and user Alex Marine Drone posted the label photographs. No idea where he got them, but I found that interesting. So take a look here. This is kind of the inside of the Mavic Air 2, and from just this view, we learn a couple things. A, the body looks very similar to the Mavic 2. As I mentioned in the previous video, you can check that out up here. Now, if we look at the top of the motors, we also learn that, of course, the propellers are going to have a quick release system. So we're not in space saving mode like on the Mavic Mini to save every tenth of every gram. We have gotten kind of the more comfortable way of attaching the propellers with the known quick release system that we've all come to know and love. Now, we also saw an application for the remote control of the Mavic Air 2. This is the DJI C5 remote control. Now, C5, great, what does that mean? The kind of current generation of remote control from the Mavic Mini, like this one, or the standard kind of remote on the Mavic 2, and of course, also the old Mavic Pro, they are style C2. So this kind of size where you put your phone in the bottom and you fold out the antennas on top, this is the C2 style of remote control, and this new one is C5. Of course, by looking at this leaked image, you can tell that it's a lot taller, but it of course does not have a built-in screen like the smart controller. I think the smart controller is even bigger and taller than this one. This might feel a little better in the hands than the little one. Now you might wonder, where does the phone go on this thing if it extends this far down? I don't think it's going to mount on the bottom. I think the phone is going to be mounted on the top. Kind of interested to see where the antennas on this thing are, because I would expect that if a phone goes on top, that whatever antennas, even if they're built in, that the phone might block or shield some of the signal being transmitted and received. One of the open questions I have for the Mavic Air 2. Another thing we learned through this testing paperwork is that the new DJI C5 RC, or also known as the Mavic Air 2's remote control, features a 2-cell battery with 2500 milliamp hours. If we compare that to the Mavic Mini's remote, for example, this has a 1-cell 2600 milliamp hour battery in it. So essentially, compared to the Mavic Mini at least, we're getting twice the juice in this new remote for the Mavic Air 2. There's still a lot of unknowns about this Mavic Air 2 that we'll see kind of pop up in the coming days and weeks, I assume. For one, what kind of a camera are we going to get on this thing? 4K 100 megabit per second video is kind of expected at this point, since the OG Mavic Air or the Mavic Air 1 already had this. I expect the image to be a little bit better and higher quality on this thing. And of course, the other big question is, what kind of a transmission system is this Mavic Air 2 going to use? I'd love to see OcuSync or an old version of Lightbridge or OcuSync 1 or whatever. It doesn't have to be the exact same system as on the Mavic 2 to kind of differentiate that product class. But this Wi-Fi transmission system, if it has that, I definitely have to test it out to see if the range is improved over the original Mavic Air. That was one of my biggest gripes about the original Mavic Air, by the way. Obstacle avoidance. I assume we're going to get sensors on the front, bottom, and rear. Sides. Without the sides, I don't know if we're going to see a Skydio 2 competitor, for example, even though I kind of think that DJI is more into the photography and video aspect of this hobby or industry. Will we see new features on this DJI Mavic Air 2 that we haven't seen yet on a previous consumer DJI drone? What features would you like to see on the Mavic Air 2? Let me know in the comments below and let's get a great conversation going. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up on it. That really helps out the channel as well. Can't wait to chat with you guys in the comments below. And of course, in the meantime, check out some of this other great content. That looks pretty interesting. See you next time.